Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I am your host Rahul N Singh. Thank you for joining today, and do like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. Rate and review the podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app. You know the drill. And join my Discord server if you haven't already. Join in the lively discussions there. And let's see, today I was really thinking about what to talk about, and I didn't really have anything in mind, but how can we understand the embodiment of realization? So what I mean by that is, what is life like after realization? Now there's a famous Zen saying that before enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water. Essentially, life doesn't change, but the way you view life does change. Now, let's take a few steps back and let's have a look at what it's like when we aren't realized. So when we aren't realized, we consider this world to be very real, the pain in it to be very real. It brings about suffering in our lives. We're not necessarily questioning reality. We're more or less are kind of doomed into believing that this is the be all and end all of everything. Because we are so invested in the body and mind, we do not see our true nature. So constantly there's incessant chatter of the mind, so thoughts are occurring all the time, images, sometimes imagination and hallucination. So many things. The world and is being perceived through the senses, and the senses have no kind of discernment. They are chasing whatever it can desire, or staying away from what it does not desire, having kind of repulsion, like kind of disgusted by certain things. And so this is where we literally begin. Then we may come across spiritual teachings, and suddenly our life changes a little bit, because now we're on the path to realizing, well, is there more to life? Normally it's after a tragedy that we tend to feel this, but we start questioning, well, is there a God? How can I see God? What is the truth? What is reality? Is the world that I'm living in true, or the dream world real? We start pondering. Then we start pondering about what our senses give us. Am I seeing things the way they are meant to be seen? Am I perceiving the world differently? Am I being pulled towards the world? Why am I being pulled towards the world when I know it's not going to give me happiness? It's been giving me suffering. And is there a way out of this suffering? So then, naturally what happens, we start then thinking about meditating. We come across YouTube videos like this one, and we want to be free from all that. And that's a good thing. Yeah, being free. Massive is a great thing. So we continue our spiritual practice. We get taught, well, you know what? If you say you're not the body and mind, well, what is saying that I'm not the body and mind? What is aware of the body and what is aware of the mind? And then you say, well, the witnessing self. Well, okay, the witnessing self is aware of the mind, is aware of the body. Where does this witness begin? Where does this witness end? And we find that in some regard, it's the mind sometimes witnessing itself, and this is a very easy thing that can happen, and we can easily misperceive this to be true awareness. But mind awareness is not what we're after. And it's something that even Ramana Maharishi warned us about. So, okay, so if I'm then aware, but even with the mind's awareness, it has a beginning, it has an end, it fluctuates. But what about that awareness that has been there since this body has aged? It's gone through the 6 stages, or is going through the 6 stages. So, childbirth, from birth to like young age, to middle age, to old age, and so on. I have been, the watcher there has been the same. And that watcher does not belong to the mind, it seems, because it seems to be present throughout. It doesn't disappear anywhere. It's been watching and has been unaffected by all of that. It has not changed in any way, it's unchanged. Okay, so let's delve into this nature of awareness. So that's when I say true spirituality begins. There's two ways when spirituality begins. One, that you're given the knowledge of God, so what God is in its truest sense. So you're able to see God directly. That's more done in the bhakti paths. In the Gyan path, it's understanding that this self that is within or without too, but more on that later, what is that and what's its nature? And what we find is that it's formless. It's pure consciousness. It's beyond waking, dreaming and deep sleep. It's beyond the Panchkoshas, which is the physical body, the vital air body, which is very subtle, the mind body, the intellect body, or the intellect covering, and even the bliss covering that happens in deep sleep. Okay, so that means that the mind is beyond gross, the physical body, the subtle body, and also the causal body, which is, again, causal body is the one in deep sleep. Okay, it's prior to even a thought beginning. It's self-existent. There's no way that it's been created, because it doesn't seem to have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. It doesn't finish. It's something that keeps remaining there, here. Okay. So then one understands, okay, maybe this is my true nature. So we go to a teacher guides us and says, this is your true nature. This is what Aham Brahmasmi truly means. This is the first part of Aham Brahmasmi, that one sees themselves as Brahman. So you then experience Brahman as your true self. Now, this Brahman wasn't separate to you. It wasn't separated at all. It was always you, and has always been you. But we have unfortunately thought that we have a separate self, which is this body. So the idea of separation is the appearance. So then you've been able to have self-realization that Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, you are that. You've experienced this. You see God face to face now, and there's a merging with God now. So the difference between you and God is different. So I know I'm mixing up traditions, but the point is the same. It goes to the same end point. Now, what completes Advaita Vedanta and what completes even the path that follows believing in God is the path of is understanding Sat Chit Ananda. So Sat is existence. So what happens is you see this world. Now, at one time it was Maya, because it perpetuated this idea that you are separate. You're a limited being in a limited world, in a limited life, and in a limited universe, and all that. Then you realize, well, actually, this world is none other, its cause is none other than God or being or existence or Brahman. So if everything has arisen from this ultimate reality and is appearing in this ultimate reality, So therefore its cause is the ultimate reality, and therefore there is no difference between the ultimate reality and this transactional reality. So between Brahman and Maya. And so what happens is, in the state of Aham Brahmasmi, in the state of I am Brahman, I am formless awareness, one then expands this I am to include the whole universe, for the whole existence, because its nature is of pure consciousness, because it's arisen from pure consciousness. And therefore, once you realize this, that this great expanse is what you truly are, everything in this is you, is the I am, is God, then what happens there is we are in the nature of bliss. Because when there's separation, there's ignorance, and that causes suffering. When there's oneness, there is bliss. And that's why we get to know our true nature, and that our true nature is formless awareness. It is pure oneness with all of existence. And this is the second part of Aham Brahmasmi, which should not be ignored, that then everything is Brahman, not just, oh, I am Brahman. Like, then we're limiting the Aham Brahmasmi to the physical body again, or the mind again. So expanding it to everywhere, to everything, then, everything is enlightened. There's no such thing as ignorance. People can be playing the game of ignorance, that's up to them. But the one that has got out of the cycle of samsara, gone out of the game, can now look at the game in a different way. And therefore realizes that it's the architect, it's the player, it's the one that wins, it's the one that loses, it's the one that turns the game off. And that becomes the state of the truly realized being. So again, what changes before and after enlightenment? Nothing much. But what does change is that oneness defines everything and not separation. And before, our senses used to separate, now our senses look to unite. So wherever you look, whatever you do, whatever you hear, whatever you taste, you experience it as your own true nature. So there can hatred occur, can arrogance occur, can pride occur, can lust occur, can the greed for power occur? No. Here only humility is. Here only love is, only compassion, mercy, tolerance, acceptance, kindness. And that is what we do. And that's how we are. That's who we are. And so, how does the enlightened person function in the world? Is the same as before, but the only difference is they're now in that state of oneness. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for today. So remain in this formless awareness and realize that once you realize your true nature as formless awareness, then there is only this oneness, this formless awareness. So even though everything appears to be separate, it's all you. Even the worst things are still you. And coming to peace with that is what is really great. And that's what Jivan Mukta does. Jivan Mukta, a self-realized being, someone who's liberated while alive. That's the way they view life. And that is available, accessible to each and every one of us. All we have to do is remain in the awareness of formless awareness. That's all. That's how simple it is. So whenever you feel you got yourself out, just remember, remain in the awareness of formless awareness. Naturally, you go back to that self-existent awareness. You don't have to do anything else. And that's only after all that work from those first, second stages are worked out, and then it all makes sense. So do not bypass the intellectual understanding. Make sure you do that. Mostly this third stage, this last stage that I talked about, where you see everything as Brahman all around you, that should open up your heart to everything. And the whole point is to open your heart. And if there's no heart in spirituality, then it's just a game of the mind, and what purpose does that hold? So ask yourself, is my spirituality, is my realization, is it part of my mind or is it part of my heart? And if it's not part of my heart yet, how can I get it to be part of my heart? And that's something that you can think about. And if you want to discuss this with me more, you can always set up a personal meeting. I'm more than happy to discuss these things. This is what, even though I am not, I can't see you, and I'm not interacting with you like on the Zoom session, but even just now recording this video is a satsang for me. It is company of the enlightened beings. So whether you know you're enlightened or not, that's up to you. But I see you as an enlightened being, and so that's why I normally end my talks with Namaste, because this divinity in here is honoring that same divinity in you. And with that, take care. Namaste.